items before we get started. A little bit about how we were going to handle the flow of today's webinar. So questions can be submitted on Twitter using the hashtag AwarenessInc. You'll submit questions on WebEx via the WebEx Q&A. What we do is we're going to want to keep today's presentation both informative and interactive. So go ahead and submit your questions as we go, but I will be gathering the questions as we go, and I will save all the questions till the end, and our speaker will handle the questions at the end. So you can submit questions throughout. We will go ahead and get those answered at the end and answer as many of them as we can. We're also recording today's session. So if you do have to step out or if you want to share this with anybody else, we will be recording this. We will post it up on our website, and we will email out the link to the recording probably tomorrow, maybe Monday. So I know that question comes up a lot. So yes, we will be recording. You will have access to the session on demand. So you will be hearing from speaker Ekaterina Walter, Global Social Innovation Strategist at Intel. Good afternoon, Ekaterina. How are you doing today?
Sal, doing good. Thank you.
Welcome. So a contributor for, as you can see, a contributor for several social media and mainstream media publications. Also the author of Think Like Zuck, The 5 Business Secrets to Facebook's Improbably Brilliant CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. You're hearing from me, Sal Gilberto. Like I said, I'm a manager here at Awareness. You can see my Twitter handle there. You can also see the Awareness Inc. Twitter handle. If you do tweet to Awareness Inc., chances are I'm the person on the other end who's going to get back to you. Today's presentation is sort of an anticipation for the book that I mentioned, Think Like Zuck. We have two sort of offers for you around the book. One is we do, on the Awareness website, have a chapter download. We have the introductory chapter available via that bit.ly link. We also have the Amazon link available here. What we're at the end of the presentation is we'll leave these links up again so that you can click on them and take advantage of both of those. So if you want to write those down quickly, if you don't have time or you're not, close pen and paper, we will flash those up again. We'll also be emailing those out with the follow-up email with the recording. So again, take advantage of those resources. Before we just want to let everyone know who Awareness is and what we do. Many of you on the line are probably familiar with Awareness, but for those of you who are not, Awareness is a simple-to-use platform combining social monitoring, profiling, publishing, and engagement for the purposes of customer acquisition. So it's really an industry-leading social media management platform. We're proud of our social marketing automation. So social marketing automation, many of you are probably familiar with traditional marketing automation platforms. This is essentially social marketing automation, and the really important part of that is the social scoring mechanism. So scoring your fans, your social fans, as well as people on social web that are of interest to you, that are having conversations that are of interest to your business, and then being able to score those. As you can see, here's a couple of examples of some things you may want to score on. They have a certain number of followers, if they mention a specific keyword in their bio, if they have a certain follower count, if they've tweeted or posted a certain number of times, that sort of thing. You can score those. You can create scorecards for segmentation and targeting. The reason we do this is because for our customers, social media is all about generating sales. So here's a quick list of some of our customers, social media specifically for generating sales, ticket sales, donations, subscribers, that sort of thing. So if you're looking to really generate an ROI via social media, Awareness Social Marketing Hub is something that you're going to want to take a look at. I don't want to spend too much more time on it, but you can, as I said, you can message me on Twitter for more information. You can also sign up for a demo of the hub. I'll flash this hub demo URL link up at the end of the presentation as well. And I will hand over the presentation. So I'm just going to change the presenter role. All
right. Hey everybody, thanks for attending and spending an hour with us. Hopefully it will be informative. It is my sort of objective for today is make it informative and offer you a lot of tips. So today I'll basically be sharing the learnings that we've acquired over the past 4 years of managing our page, and what worked and what didn't, and how we grew our customer base to, or fan base to 16 million fans on the global page and over 23 across the globe. I've managed our page for a number of years now. Now Renee does an amazing job managing the page. We've actually put together strategy in place, global strategy in place with about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, when we started just looking at that. So I'll talk a little bit about it. So what I'm going to focus today is several things. One is really showing you how you can grow your organic fan base through engagement and what are those tips to engage effectively. And second, I believe at the end I also have a couple of slides on how we scaled it. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Some of you might be smaller businesses, but even if you have several pages, kind of thinking about scaling strategies is a good thing. All right, with that, let's get started. Well, this web, I'm assuming you know why Facebook, right? There's a lot of big, great statistics and data out there. It does tell you that it's a global property, so if you're a global brand, for us marketers, it's great because you can build a global fan base across multiple audiences. There is, half of the of active users actually log in every single day, and there is about 6 million now daily active users, and obviously interesting data around how many websites actually integrated with Facebook. There is a ton, and the trend continues. So Facebook just kind of really integrated itself into our digital ecosystem in a smart way. So Fortune 100 companies, excuse me, actually are focusing more on Facebook than their own websites. Now, do not get me wrong. That's not the advice I'm giving you here. Do not drop your websites unless you have a really strong reason for doing so, because Facebook is still rented land, right? I mean, there is a lot of amazing things you can do with it, but you can't rely on 100%. This is just a community you build on somebody else's site. So, but with that, even if you look at your websites and you say, great website, here's all this information I have, it might not be exactly a place where people are looking to engage with you socially. So we're looking at for example, and that data is a little old, but even if you look at that data aggregate and web trends put together, and you look at it and you go, wow, they have about 300,000 unique monthly visitors to their site, but they can engage with millions and millions of fans daily. That's pretty impressive. And as a matter of fact, some of the brands are taking it one step ahead and really sort of ditching the websites and going to Facebook. Ivory is an interesting brand, very old brand, and so I was surprised when I think about ago they said, well, after holding out for 125 years, we're actually on Facebook, and they're redirecting. When you go to ivory.com, they're redirecting you to sort of their Facebook page, and in establishing more, more of a community versus an actual website. Now, if you're still sort of a skeptic, right, then ask yourself, where do you true brand advocates connect with you? The answer is your website. I commend you. It's great. However, in more cases than most, it would probably be your communities either on Facebook or others, and Facebook, of course, being the biggest. And it's just one example. So, one morning, we looked at our Facebook page to find this picture. Half of you were thinking, we thought, that's got to be photoshopped. Not photoshopped. Who is this awesome, insane person who would take a B2B brand and then put it on tattoo on their back? And not only that, he wasn't bragging about it. He just basically said, "Hey, I just got an Intel tattoo." So we actually connected with him, and that his name is Damien Bayliss, and he's in his early 20s. This was his first trip from Canada to Las Vegas. And while being there, he went in and actually got a tattoo of Intel logo on his back, and casually tagged himself in it. And we connected with him, and we talked with him, and we found out he's a diehard fan. This is something he wanted to do. And yes, I know what you're thinking. He was actually sober. while he did that, and he actually made a quick video of being in the parlor and getting that tattoo. I guess the reason why I'm saying this is we would have never known or connected with Damien if he wouldn't tagged us on Facebook, and we had this opportunity to connect. And one of the research that I love citing, where I recommend folks, marketers, really focus on their key core advocates first and foremost, is scientists at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute actually found that it takes 10% of population holding an unshakable belief in to convince the majority to adopt the same belief. And that's, as a matter of fact, they're stating it's always the fact. So focus on the people who already love you, offer them a platform to connect, a platform like Facebook, and definitely start having conversations with them. So a couple of household items. I'm not going to go into too much detail because they probably already know about it, but just wanted you to have just kind of an idea of what's located in your Facebook page in case you're just starting, where apps are, where your logo and cover photo is. There is a quick guideline here on the cover photo, what is not allowed per Facebook's sort of guidelines. And, in here on this slide, I'm actually talking about the dimensions. A lot of people having a hard time actually finding what would the perfect dimensions of a cover photo be. So, and what is the dimensions of profile picture? I see those, cropped up, weird-looking half-logo profile pictures. So make sure you're very clean, sort of, on what you upload, and these guidelines will help. And also, it walks through what the cover photos shouldn't include. So make sure you're sticking to those guidelines, because Facebook is very strict about kicking you out if you don't if you don't kind of their terms and conditions. What about kind of like the fact that you can start the post and you can actually put create the milestones out of your post. And for milestones, if you want to go back and populate your history, which I actually highly suggest, there's more and more young users actually, or millennials, I would say, actually engaging with on Facebook, and those folks, they really love to look at your heritage, where you come from, when were you, when did you find a company, what are the milestones, what are the products that you provide. So you actually, make sure that you populate that. And here's some ideas for milestone curation. Fan growth milestones are great because you're kind of not only talking about yourself, new product lines, any quotes. Quotes do very well. So take a look at this list and see what resonates with you. And also, make sure you take full advantage of your admin panel. There's actually, it's sometimes some of the good messages and some private messages that are very relevant get into your spam folder. The algorithm is not yet perfect, so make sure you check those periodically. And an important thing on this page I wanted to call out is, if we've been really in pain with regards to the fact that we cannot change the URL of our page and name of our page, so now you can, and you can go to help section for that. And here are tips on timeline. As far as the apps, you can only have 4 apps up on top. Photos is non-negotiable; it always will be there. It's not going to go away. But the 3 apps next to it, you can actually decide to flip. You can switch them over and feature one versus another in particular time if you have multiple different tabs running. And it talks a little bit about the tab width and what you need to know if you decide to create additional custom tabs. So now here's the meat of the presentation. If you don't take anything away from it, this is one big thing. You need to be very cognizant of how the newsfeed algorithm works, because what happens is not everybody sees your post. The smaller your page are, actually, the more people see it. But the bigger you grow, especially towards 1 million fans and over, there's a problem. Then a lot of additional filtering will be applied. And so according to Facebook, pages that engage pretty well, you still would have about 16% of the fans seeing your content in newsfeed. So in this case, for example, and it's an old screenshot, but it is, Word of Marketing Association is popping up because I continuously engage with them and I like them, and they pop up in my feed. But the reality is not everything will. So make sure that with tips that offer, use them wisely. Make sure that that you use something that works for you, and note what works and use it consistently. So here's the biggest thing. Next number of slides focus on how to basically grow your engagement, because the higher the engagement on your page, the higher the rank. The higher the rank on your page, the more opportunities your content and your post will have to be featured and pop up in people's news feeds. It depends on a lot of number of factors, but I noticed when we grow our page organically to pretty large numbers, we noticed that this is something that absolutely works. So, in some of you asking where the 16% data come from, it comes directly from Facebook. That's what Facebook told us in our stations. So know your audience. That's my first biggest tip, because a lot of times we assume, right? We look at the research and we look at the studies, and a lot of studies say, "Oh God, free giveaways really does well. If you don't have free giveaways, might as well not have a Facebook page." It's not things that people look for. We tend to disagree. On Intel page, it's absolutely different. I'll show you some polls and other questions we're running asking. And on our page, people want almost on the top one or two always comes up is we want to know early announcements. So sometimes when we run our TV ads, we actually showcase them and put them in on Facebook for our fans to enjoy before it ever hits TV, right? So there's this sort of or announcements before they hit big news. We make sure that they know about it. So there's all these things that might be specifically custom to you, and will help you develop the right content. If you go in and you ask on a regular basis, what would you want to see from us? What kind of content do you expect? Big thing that I would actually call out is develop your brand voice. So some of brands have really crazy voices, right? Skittles. It's crazy and it's great at the same time. I don't need a lot of Skittles, but I love going to their page and checking out their updates or getting them in my newsfeed, because they're really truly, without even seeing the Skittles brand, they're really truly their own unique voice. You can almost guarantee if something pops up in the newsfeed and it's funny in a real funky way that it's a Skittles update. So right, what I call my Skittles reality show out of nowhere. so that's their own unique voice, and I think not only that, watch your voice, but not only that, make sure you also human. Not the PR sounding voice that we used to. Well, today we're announcing X product, but actually, hello everybody, great to be here, or really something, a voice that kind of use the tonality that you would use probably with your friends. Be human and be spontaneous. That's another tip that it worked extremely well for us. We go in and we say happy holidays. We share different quotes. We have fill in the blank questions, which I'll talk about in a second. We have fun Fridays where we just go out and we either ask the questions or we just have conversation about random topics. So example here is not random. It has to do with the technology, because we're a technology page, but it got really good attention. Sweet memories. Do you remember your first computer? I mean, people love to talk about past. They like to talk about present, and maybe their thoughts on the future. So just kind of go back sometimes and pull your archive photos of from your archives, and feature it, and maybe do a quick trivia. So create really interesting ways to have conversation, not just about here's my product and that's it. Absolutely respond. So this is so trivial, right? And you go, well, I knew that. Everybody says that. But the reality is we don't have time to. And if we do have time to, you create amazing conversations and you create great advocates. So make sure that even when somebody comes in and gives you a compliment, you respond and thank you. That's really nice of you. And we sometimes even direct message them or private message them and say, well, we really appreciated your comment on our page today. And, and people love that you're actually acknowledging them. So off challenge, right? So if you have a really community that sort of knows you and knows your brand, or if you have a community that's a little bit techy like ours, here's an example of a challenges we offered. And what we said is, let's try out the binary code. And tried it, and we run pretty regularly now because we do have geeks on our page, and people really engage with it in an interesting ways. And we say, well, who can tell us what this actually says? Or another example, name this processor. Now we know that there is a mix of techie audiences, really deep technical folks, and just mainstream consumers. But even with mainstream consumers, we found that name this processor. They have no idea what this is, but they're really excited to go see what the answers are and really participate and learn something new. So it's a really interesting, really interesting sort of a mix. All right. Another tip would be encourage shares and mentions. I'd say this is one of the most underused techniques out there. So let's assume that let's say Sal tweeted, but posted on Facebook the message that says, well, Intel today announced blah, blah, blah. And so when he says Intel, and if he says, well, they announced it on their Facebook page, you're like, they have a Facebook page. That's cool. But if he actually tagged an Intel page in it, it appears as a link. And now maybe I go check it out, but I don't want to put extra effort. So now I can just click through, go check out the page, like it right there, and engage with it, right? Versus, well, I have to go to Facebook, which I have to look for it. It's not extremely convenient. So still, if you're a small business, I'd say, I would say that teaching your audiences to how to engage with you in a ways that was beneficial for both them to learn something and you, side. I think it's a great idea. So every now and then just ask them, hey, you guys, did you know you can actually tag us? And here's, going back to talking about questions and polls, here's some of the ones we actually run, and what content sort of more exciting for you to see on the page. This particular poll happened to be video on top, number 1, product information number 2, and it does have free giveaways of number 3, but because we run it often, we know that it isn't usually the one that pops up often. And then there's a lot of other things, new things pop up every now and then, like job info. It doesn't pop up every time. Party reviews and things like that. So see if you can find different applications that would allow you to actually run polls within the newsfeed to get to know your audience better. This is one of my favorites, actually. Fans, right? Don't just collect your fans, but activate them, put them in charge, give them power to make decisions, let them judge some contests. So this is an old example, but my favorite, Budweiser was asking their fans which commercial they'd like to see, at a big game, and they aired the one that got the most responses. And imagine a person sitting in front of the TV saying, "Oh my God, look at this commercial," which we usually don't do. And here's a story about it. I actually helped pick it. It's because I participated, right? So there's definitely that sort of a touch point that you can develop with your customers. Celebrate the milestones. I would say that's one of the most important ones that we usually do not think about. Celebrating milestones is, I believe, critical from perspective of going out there and saying, "Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here. Thank you for participating. We hit 1,000 fans today. 3,000. Whatever you think the milestone is, and we'll love connecting with you every single day." Or you would actually have something launching that you're really excited about, and you offer some exclusive, offer, or just exclusive giveaway, maybe just for Facebook fans. So there's always those ways in which you could celebrate some of the critical things with your fans and engage them in doing so. An inside look. Here's another one that's that works extremely well. There's this one day we're walking around, Intel campus, and look at this. This looks really geeky. It's just totally Intel, right? And this is an engineering sort of part of campus. And we just took a picture on our mobile phone. We uploaded it, and immediately went boom. It's just a lot of shares. People love the fact that we said, well, here's what's going on Intel campus. That is what this is what makes us, or this is what we're talking about, or here's here's some additional details about who we are. Inside look always does very well because a lot of brands tend not to do it, and people want to know what's going on behind the scenes. How are you making your cookies if you're a small business, right? What are you putting in them? Who is your team behind making them, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of ways to engage in an interesting way. Talking about sort of photos, Facebook is different, definitely photonomy, right? In that there's a ton of photos. It's the biggest photo sharing app to begin with, and there is a lot of photos that being shared that are a little bit more, official brand photos, but a lot of just what people do. And we started sharing more when we actually went in, and we had the Intel Museum actually redesigned in Santa Clara and redone, and when it reopened, and it's really cool inside. When it reopened, we went in, and we probably about, I'd say, 10, 12, 15 shots, and we didn't even post it as an update. We uploaded it as a Facebook album, and immediately it just exploded. I mean, it wasn't even targeted at fans. It was just, hey, Intel just added the album, and 17,000 likes. I mean, that's enormous. And back then, I think our fan base was like a couple of million, maybe a million. And 17,000 likes to get on the post organically, it's insane. And then according to Facebook, again, Facebook told us that there's always twice engagement with the post if it has visual included in it. So really, sort of a good way to think about, do I want to do a little bit more videos? Do I want to do a little bit more visuals? And using visuals is a great way to engage. Now, this is an example of so we do at Intel, and we started producing an exclusive images that go with, for example, big game or Valentine's Day or even first day of spring, right? We actually for a number of unique images for our communities that have this very similar Intel look. So if you can see all the way out, we're using Intel dye, right, in every one of them to say it is a message from Intel. You don't even have to see that it's from Intel. You start recognizing it after a while, and then people love those shots, and they engage a lot with them. And I mean, we pretty much guaranteed getting way over 1,000 shares on every single one of them, which is great, right? I mean, for B2B brand, it's definitely good. Another tip that I have is keep it short. Well, first of all, multiple studies basically show that post short lengths receiving much higher engagement. But there's one thing that people don't tend to think about. For example, if you want to advertise on Facebook, so advertise on Facebook, and or maybe invest a little bit of your money behind sponsored stories, which work usually the best. You will notice that a lot of times you're limited to 90 characters. What does that mean? It means that every time that Facebook posts sort of sponsored story, they will take your post as is and they use it. But if you have more than 90 characters, it's going to cut it off. So the sentence is going to be unfinished. So something to keep in mind if you want to invest and play around with sponsors. With sponsored stories. Seasonable and timely. Fans are more likely to engage with topics that are sort of top of mind. Again, the statistics directly from Facebook, they told us that posts mentioning Independence Day on July 7th generated about 90% more engagement than all posts published on that day. And so look for sort of reasons to engage with people. Holidays, or it's just something that you want to celebrate with, something that's very relevant to your communities. On the blanks. So again, another statistics from Facebook that talks about fill in the blank post generating 90% more engagement than average text post, and it does make sense. It makes sense from perspective of we're actually asking folks to engage with you, right? So you're asking them to comment, and so comments, the way the newsfeed algorithm works, well, nobody knows because it gets tweaked all the time, but a lot of tests showed that likes, comments, shares, and other sort of engagement and views of your page, they all compile the big thing called sort of the rank of your page. So which means the more people engage with you, the higher rank. So if you ask people open-ended questions or you ask your customers to fill in the blanks, not only it's fun because they share their stories with you, but it's great because it got engagement. And the more people who are lurkers who engage with your page, the more of their friends will see it. So let's say I don't engage with Sal's page for a while. Suddenly he asks a question that really touches me deeply, and I want to comment on that and engage in conversation. Also, all friends are seeing that I'm engaging. So that sort of friend effect really kicks in from a marketing perspective, and it's really great. The other thing I want to mention here that do not afraid to ask folks to like a post if they agree with your statement, for example, or do not be afraid to ask them to share it. Do not do it every single time, but do it effectively, do it smartly. Where you say, hey, if you like this, please share. Because what you will notice that you'll probably the shareability and engagement will probably increase from 2 to 6x according to some of the studies I've seen if you give them call to action to actually engage with them. She posts from fans. I think that one is a great one. I think we don't do it enough. Just bring out a couple of fans out there and say and bring attention to them and engage the rest of the community in it. The example is a bit of an odd question, but does anyone like to sniff their box of tea? Right? Our Facebook friend wants to know if he's the only one who doesn't. If it's maybe it's strange, right? And there's that always kind of brings out engagement. Where the community jumps in and really wants to support, or sometimes make fun of others, but in a nice way, because community really rallies around community. If you're a part of a community, you rally around others. So to kind of some of the content consideration, make sure you keep it short, skimmable, and don't forget to input critical information. Sometimes we forget here's the dates or times or links because we're so close to a program or a question or a statement that we forget it. And if you get stuck, here's the pretty good list of some of the things that you can do with content. So if you're really right, if you're asking yourself, what can I post today? I am out of ideas. These are just some of the ideas. And I'd say what you might want to also do is engage your fellow marketers and just sit in a conversation internally and say, hey, have you seen something creative? What should we do? And I bet you're going to generate a lot of interesting and exciting ideas. Okay, so a little bit of laugh for the day. I want to talk about cover photos and how to use them creatively for a second. This isn't a brand page. It's somebody who created this sort of image on their personal page. But there's brands that are creating really interesting images, very much in line with their brand. Here's examples from Bean and Tom's, and just for that your landing experience is a very important experience. So what that you're offering your fans of their landing page. And these are examples of so Cover Girl said thank you, just like we discussed, say thank you for a milestone to 2 million fans when they hit that milestone. And then Veron Wireless is using some pictures that fans are sharing on their pages, in their cover pages, and they're calling them. Dunkin' Donuts does it very well. They have a Fan of the Week program that has been going for years, and it's always been highly popular. People tag themselves and on their page and say, oh, here's my Dunkin' coffee, or here's my Dunkin' donut, or Dunkin' product that they're using that they hold in their hand. They really do creative shots, and Dunkin' picks a Fan of the Week and features it, and they love it. There's always a lot of engagement within that community that they love. You have a visual synergy, so your cover photo, profile image, app image, they all need to work together. This is just one example of what I did, but as you look at your sort of creating a first impression, make sure all of the elements are aligned. Now, a couple of additional sort of maintenance tips. Make sure you target your status updates. Especially if a program is local, you can, within the United States, you can actually target by city and by state, but globally, because we're a global page, our global page has over 16 million fans on it, and we have a huge community from Asia and Latin America and Europe. And so a lot of times we work with our local pages and saying, guys, do you want to submit, posts in your local language with regards to some of the critical programs you're doing or whatever you want fans to know on our page. And we target the updates specifically to those countries, and it works very well because folks might not be fans of your local pages, and they just might be on your global page. So sometimes it's great to know what's happening in the local community. Post frequency and timing. Timing is interesting. Let me start with timing. Facebook told us that engagement with pages is highest at 9 to 10 p.m. of whatever time you're in. And young generation engages the most. But honestly, we've tried different things, and different brands have different things working for them. So I talked to a ton of brands, and they tell me multiple things. Timing is a little elusive, and it's a little custom. So whatever works for you. Intel page has a lot of international community, so no matter when we post day or night, we already have big engagement happening right when the post is posted. Weekends do really well as well because people are more on Facebook sometimes during weekends. But the frequency element, ComScore actually did, ran a study and did comparisons across, I think, top 100 pages, and they found that the posts, if those pages that post every day, as much as 22% of their fan base each week. So really high percentage, and the chart here in the corner shows that. We at Intel we always posted once a day. Sometimes on the heavy days we have posts here and there that maybe a couple times a day. So when CES has been happening or something that's notable, but usually we try to post once a day. Cross-platform approach. One of the things to think if you have multiple communities, this works very well. Actually, would say go look across your communities and figure out what are the interesting different activities that you can run on each one, and then what are the ones that can go all across. So what we did with Pinterest is I created a fan love page where some of the fans tag in creating interesting artwork and putting Intel inside and kind of they say, guys, Intel, I love you. Here's some of the artwork I created specifically for you. And so what I would do is I would go and talk to them through sort of messaging and saying, can we use your pictures on our Pinterest page? And they email me offline the actual image and their consent that says, yes, you can do so, and we're highlighting them. A lot of our fans love that. And then one other thing I've done, I actually ran a contest on Facebook called What Does Intel Mean to You? It was a video and image contest, and there were hundreds and hundreds of people participating. And I took some of the coolest images, some of the ones we loved the most, like the ones showcased on the slide, and we put it on our Pinterest fan love board. And we said, well, here's people who actually participate, and here's why I love these images. And interesting thing too is when we usually use a lot of those images to then drive back to our Pinterest from Facebook and saying if something interesting happens on Pinterest, we're calling out people saying check out this great shots of our fans on our Pinterest pin board, and fans love that. They go, wow, these are some really cool ones, and they start having conversation around it. So really great, another great approach. And then besides that, across online and offline works really, really well. And, these are examples of how you can do it on your website, do it for your newsletters, even receipts. I mean, some of your small, medium businesses, you can take and put your Facebook community receipt, and you really say, hey, we appreciate the connection. We want to engage with you here where we are. But there's a lot of other creative places that you actually can feature your community in. So some of the examples include newspaper ads, merchandise, indoor signs, business cards, billboards, vehicles. I mean, there's a lot of other creative ways to actually bridge online and offline. And here's an example of what Maria did with their email. I really like that for some reason resonated with me, just was really um, well executed. Would they say, hey, like us? We are on Facebook. You can engage with us um, there. So a couple of other admin items. If you have a big page and you have several admins, it is a really good idea to actually create an editorial calendar where you would say, here's what's coming, here's the post, here's particular post that goes out this day, so that the admins don't jump in and do several dates of different topics. So editorial calendar works well. You can also use external tools to schedule your Facebook updates in advance and strip out spam appropriate comments. And if you're a brand that if you're a vacuum brand and there's a big usage of word suck, for example, you might want to specify custom filtering for some of that, because if all the messages with the word my vacuum doesn't suck very well, how can you help they all get put out into a spam folder is going to be really hard to manage. So there's different things that you can do there. And absolutely have moderation guidelines. And the reason is you can be prepared if your page does get attacked. Because you don't have anywhere to point. Right? Our generic social media guidelines show and that across all communities. So a generic guideline, you can Google that, and they're public. We say we leave good comments, we leave negative comments, but we get rid and delete inappropriate comments, and we say that in our guidelines. Here are some of the guidelines from Dunkin' Donuts, Subway. You can go check out some of ours and what we talk about. But the reality is, if something happens on your page, you want to point back out and say, here's our house rules. If you're not complying, you're not welcome into this community. And it's absolutely okay to do, because what you want to do is as a community manager, you want to watch out for people who did the damage or damage the environment. So you make sure you don't be afraid to cut them off in order to just sort of maintain the focus and ensure the rest of the participants are comfortable. A lot of times I had to jump in and say, whoa, we love passion, but let's treat each other with respect, right? People started calling each other names and things like that, and they said, okay, sorry, we're just getting way too passionate, sorry, thanks for jumping in. So it's okay to sort of not be afraid to have that conversation. And then analytics-wise, that's a whole other topic that I think is going to take probably an hour. But I did want to mention is, if you're reporting out to your management a particular data that they want to see, a lot of data on Facebook sites. There's a lot of data that you can pull from third-party tools. Some of this were mentioned. Rafael, thank you so much, posting, Wildfire, V-True, Buddy Media, and a lot of others that provide service of not only posting on the page, but also creating custom tabs, and also analytics. But you need to kind of figure out what are the buckets that you want to report to management. And so the critical buckets are growth. So what is the growth of your community? Reach. What is its reach? And engagement. Engagement is probably going to be one of your most important tricks, because that's what you want to be happening. I know that a lot of times management want to look at the fan numbers. But engagement is something that I think is more important than anything else. There's demographic data. You want to know who's engaging with you, younger folks, older folks, where they're coming from. You want to track your content strategy. So as you put different content out there, you want to always to continue to go back and see how it performed. What are the unique views it got? What is the engagement around it? Which one, what's the variety of it? And then to the investment. So if you invest in media, of course, people will want to know how the performance improved, and then competitor analysis. So there's a number of tools like Zoom, for example, ZUM, or a number of others are starting already to incorporate different competitor analysis there. But what you can do, even if you don't want to pay for a different other tool, you can go in and you can look what the fan growth of your competition, maybe on a monthly basis, and then what is the people talking about number. Now, people talking about it number changes consistently, so you want to track it weekly, but you can go in and check out those pages. And there's some competitors that are going to be twice your size in fan count, but they're going to be that maybe engagement will be way lower because they're not really having conversations as effectively as you are. That's an important thing to look at. So, of course, you will ask, what are the tools I recommend? Besides the one that Raphael was kind enough in the Q&A section to mention, I suggest Page Leveler. Now, one of the tools I've seen for Facebook Analytics. First of all, it's affordable, and Disclosure Intel is using it. It's affordable. It is very easy to use. It's a great UI, so you can just copy and paste the charts or run the reports, in PDF format from there. And then, third of all, it's complete. It offers a complete picture of all those things that you want to track because, insights, Facebook Insights, in my view, are very limited if you want to dig deep. If you're a brand that wants to dig deep and look at additional data of your performance and maybe your fan growth, there's so much more that you can report out. So good tool, and there's of course there's others, but something. So the company name is right here, Page Leveler. It's right in the corner. So if you're seeing the slides, its logo is in the corner. So on considering sponsored stories, there's, it depends, of course, on what budget you have, but definitely if you have a small budget, and you want to play with media investment, I would suggest playing with sponsored stories. Here's the different types of sponsored stories. There's more of them. The part on the bottom actually talks to you. Page Leveler actually ran the data across like 400 million fans, a huge number, and they found out that the bigger your page, probably the actual smaller engagement you're gonna have, and that's just normal when your page goes. But your really newsfeed algorithm really limits the number of people who actually seen your updates. So sponsored stories might just be a really interesting way to engage. And here's an example of one of ours where we ran a test. For the first 20 hours, we ran this post, Name Your Processor, and got 600 shares, 7,000 people liked it, 5,000 commented. 24 hours later, we boosted it with the media engagement, so we ran a sponsored story on it for a limited period of time, and we had really huge increase in. We definitely had amazing bump in views, so we knew way more people saw it, but we also had a bump in engagement with shares and likes and comments. All those metrics increased. To close in, a couple more minutes. Let me spend on that, and if you have questions about it, let me know. But how do you scale globally? We went in and we said about 3 years ago, about 2.5 3 years ago, we had so many pages. Half of them are dead because they were short-term programs, and then they were left today. Creating just bad image for Intel as a brand. So we said, listen, we need to put a strategy in place. So we told our stakeholders, we pulled together and we said, what objectives, what do we really want to do, what makes sense from the brand perspective as a whole. And what we decided to do is we said we're going to have one global page in English, we're going to keep that, and then we're going to allow one page per country. And now we have, our community is pretty big, and we have pages that touch over 50 countries. But we've basically said if you Taiwan, for example, and you want to run the program at a program specifically local in Taiwan, go to that Taiwan page instead of creating your own page, putting all this money behind, or creating all this efforts of putting behind awareness about the program and then killing it and collecting maybe 2,000 fans and then they're just sitting there. You really do it in one central place where you can run different programs, different giveaways, but you continue to nurture that fan base. And so we put infrastructure in place, so some of the tools that we mentioned are good for that, and we use those tools to create custom apps. So you basically create this environment where you do it-yourself apps, and we branded it. We created Intel branded asset library where you take your widgets or modules within that, and you brand it with your logos. So some of the ones in the bottom are the ones that Intel created different looks and feels, and your countries basically go in and within that tool, and they can create all by themselves, literally within half an hour. They can create their own apps, their own tabs that either promote a program or show, custom photos, videos. You can even pull in the blog and your tweet updates, and they play with different custom tabs because everything is already in place. And the way we did that, we had to really, and it took a while. I mean, this whole process probably took about a year, maybe a little less, but we had to enable people because we're organizers. We can't run all the pages centrally. We just run the global page centrally from our team. But in the countries, if they decided to start the page, they had to make sure they had the resources, not just budget, but human capital to maintain that page. Because once you start, you want to continue engagement. And if they did, then we basically provided a playbook. We provided consistently branded images or profile images. We provide training of the infrastructure for the infrastructure. We had playbook, and we created monthly forums to help our country managers and their agencies if they decide to have any agency help because of the lack of resources. We basically train them on how to use it appropriately, and we share best known practices of what worked and what didn't work. And so right now we're at the point where a lot of our geographies are actually engaging very effectively and know how to use Facebook, became very savvy, and we have a lot of fun with it around the world. So Sal, that is it for me. Back to you. This is just some of the information where you can find me, my blog, my Twitter. I'm active on Twitter, so if there's some additional questions, you can ping me there.
Great, and I'd like to thank you for presenting, by the way, and I'd like to get to as many questions as possible. I do to just flash up here quickly some of the links I said I'd put up at the end. There's a couple of ways to ask questions, but probably best to ask questions on Twitter at the hashtag AwarenessInc. The chapter download for Think Like Zuck, which is due out, when is it due out?
It's next Tuesday, the hardcover, but the Kindle is already available.
So free chapter download of the introduction is available at that link. The purchasing link is available. The requested demo link is also up, as well as both of our Twitter handles. So I want to get to as many questions as we can in the limited time that we have. The first question that came in early on is, have you seen some of the changes that are coming to Timeline that seem to have been leaked through New Zealand? And if so, what are your thoughts?
With Facebook, you never know. Honestly, it's all the guessing game all the time, and that's why it's sometimes hard to work with them, that they don't even share anything with their strategic partners ahead of time. So a lot of times it's just whatever somebody caught on a screenshot, but it doesn't mean that that's what it's going to be. Sometimes they're testing something. They push the change code every Tuesday, and so there's some limited set of people that they're testing with, so there's always some screenshots flying around, but honestly it's my guess is as good as yours guys at this point. So
question that came in just and you mentioned sort of tools that you can look at for engagement, but what specific metrics are you looking at? What specifically do you look at for do you look at overall for the channel, for an individual post? What metrics and what level of metrics do you look at for you?
We go pretty deep. We'll look at multiple metrics. We definitely look at the effectiveness of engaging on the whole page. So that's one of the bigger ones. How are we doing with how many times what many posts we had a particular month, how many views we've got, and then we drill deeper and we look at actual per post data. So things that we look at is what are the unique views, how many people actually see it. Of course, data that you can see, shares, comments, likes. We'll look at the variety aspect, how many people actually kind of shared it and where how far it traveled, and then there's a lot of things we'll look at. For example, as our fan base grows, we actually get a lot of new people coming from different countries. So, there might be a number of months where we have young audiences engaging, 18 to 24, and conversations around specific topics that are interesting to them. And then sometimes, additional audiences coming on board, and we want to know who they are. And we absolutely continuously track the active users. Who are they? What are the most active users that are engaging consistently? What's percentage of them? And, page level breaks down the engagement for you. And engagement might mean different things to different folks, but you really need to look at the not just, well, here's all this data, but somebody needs to bring down percentages for you, right? And I think tools like PageLover do it very well, where they go, here's your percentage of engagement at this particular time period, and you can go back and you can actually track the trends, and it's saying, over the last month, here's the top post. Over the previous month, here were the top posts, and you can see the correlations between the topics and the content that's being discussed. So, just digging deeper into those elements and making sure we adjust real time and learn real time from that, that's definitely valuable.
Okay. Great, absolutely. So a couple questions coming in, and the answer is yes, we did record today's webinar. Actually, we're recording today's webinar right now. You can you will access the recording. We are going to process the recording and email a link to everyone, maybe tomorrow, but probably Monday. So anybody who's looking for this on demand, you will have access to that. I also wanted to say, I really agree with your the concept that you said about using that profile picture. I think a great piece of advice, as well as sort of bring your fans, saying that, because the concept of some of the things you showed with that profile picture of saying that, okay, we'll put your picture when you submit it. I think that a lot of social users are in it for themselves, meaning that you're on a social network to sort of, no matter who you are, share and promote things about yourself. So I think when a large brand or even a small brand says, hey, we'll post a picture of our best fans or something that our best fans did, I think that is actually a very powerful tool. No question there. I just thought that was a really good point on your part. One couple questions about ads. I don't know if you could speak a little bit more about ads. What do you think works on ads, targeting more impressions versus clicks versus shares, sort of what to target? But also, one question I had was, do you think Facebook is moving to the point where you will have to use ads, where it'll allow you to put your page up, but the only way that you're really going to get value out of Facebook is if you are putting money in it directly to Facebook? Do you think they'll ever go down that route, or do you think brands will be able to be successful without doing that?
I don't think they will, because the reality is the key focus always was and always will be, I believe, the users, right? Even though some users are happy with the service, some might not be. But the reality is that they want users to have a good experience, meaning that a lot of users are actually enjoying brand updates and brand content, right? So there's definitely, if you engage with the brand content the most, it's funny, one of my said, I stopped receiving any updates from Facebook. I want to see what we're doing in our page. Why is it not coming from my newsfeed? And my question was, did you engage with Intel for a while? No, I didn't. Well, you need to start engaging and liking and commenting and really, maybe sharing every now and then. And as soon as she started doing it, she goes, oh, yeah, it's back into my newsfeed, right? So I think Facebook will definitely the experience that users are looking for, and that's useful. So I don't think it's going to be ever 100%. But I will say, with regards to all those discussions that are happening about why is Facebook making us pay and things like that, the reality is it's normal. I mean, look back when historically when we had to really work with people and target folks, through traditional media. Same thing, to stand out from the noise, which was, there's a lot out there, and it continues to increase digitally. To stand through the noise, you have to create amazing content. It's just a forcing function for you to really have a content that's noticeable. It's our job, right, as marketers, to create the content that people engage with, and just because of the privilege of using a platform like Facebook doesn't mean that all 100% of fans get our fingertips every single time. And so those filtering devices happen on multiple platforms. They're going to continue to happen to really provide the customer experience for the user. So it looks like that brands getting screwed in the process. The reality is it's just normal. So I think, again, it's our job as marketers to do better with engaging, to do better with creating content that hooks people. And
all right, are you still there? I heard a beep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're a little bit over, but can you take just one more question before we go?
Sure.
Okay, great. I had I'm going to combine some questions here. So someone was asking, how do I specifically market to engineers, which I think is something that I'd be able to speak to. But then another question about do you target specific posts to specific audiences, and even it may be open up to the whole community, knowing that it's targeted at a certain subsection of the community, or you sort of post I'm setting out this post to get maximum engagement regardless of where it comes from. So you could talk a little bit about that kind of strategy. Oh, you there? Oh, I think we lost her. Okay, so that question will have to go unanswered for now, but you have Ekaterina's Twitter handle as well as my handle. Tag Awareness Inc. is still active right now as well. So let's keep the conversation going. Please take advantage of the resources that we've made available. We'll also make this presentation available as a resource probably early next week, if not earlier. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I'm sorry that we lost the speaker. We ran a little bit over, so maybe somehow the phone got cut off. Thank you, everyone, and good luck in all your social marketing. Hopefully this presentation will help with your engagement. Thank you.